Hello everyone, welcome back to another track guide. This time we're at Road Atlanta using the Lamborghini GT3. Per usual, I will show the hot lap first, and then we'll get into the guide. So for turn 1, I begin braking when this grass ends, and I'm using the extra road on the left to help open up the corner. Lots of compression in this corner as it's going uphill. Ideally you want to be on the throttle right as you brush this curb. It's important not to be all the way to the left towards the grass, because it'll be very hard to bring the car back over to the right to prepare the next corner, which is very important. Now, since this is all blind here, it's very hard to see where you're actually, where you actually need to go and to get a turn-in point. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this seam right in that goes along the track here, and I'm kind of using that as a reference to help guide me to the beginning of the next corner. I begin braking very gently as this curve begins, making sure I'm using all of it to open up the corner. And I'm turning in as like towards the end of the curb. That's my reference for the turn in, because once again this is blind and it can be pretty tricky. You want to cut quite a bit of this inside curb. Make sure you're riding this curb all the way alongside through this corner, as it can help kind of pull the car in and get you some extra rotation. I did a little lift here. Ideally, you wouldn't have to on tires that are, good tires. If you have cold tires or tires that are kind of old, it can be tough to keep flat. You turn in to the S's when this curve begins. You don't want to be too far to the right because it's really going to compromise your entry. You can hit this curb full on. It is pretty aggressive, but it's okay. For the bottom of the hill here, I'm braking very lightly before the curb begins. I'm not completely mounting the curb because at least the Lamborghini anyways tends to bottom out here, so I'm just kind of brushing it as I'm braking. I'm mounting the curb on the inside here, getting on the power quite confidently as this corner is going uphill. And for the exit here, you want to try to keep the middle of the car on the left side of the curbing. And also right here, you want to avoid going over the grass here. It's a very easy 1X that you can pick up. For this corner, I'm braking at the white line in front. Lots of banking here, so you can carry lots of speed. Now here's probably the most important corner on the track, since it leads to the longest straight. Really isn't a clear reference point for braking. What I found worked for me was, as my car approaches this curb, that's when I begin braking, making sure that you're using all of the curb to the left. Now ideally you do want to cut more of this curb than I did. However, if you do, you just need to be careful because it can be easier to trigger the TC, which you wouldn't want to do here because you can lose valuable time if you do so. I try to stay off the grass here. That's another pretty easy off track you can get. For the chicane, I'm looking at the 100 board as my reference. I try to brake about 20 meters before it, so I'm just kind of judging the distance. You can also use that dirt on the right as it begins to become more brown. You can use that. However, during a race, that people can drive over that, so it's not a great reference, but it can work for qualifying and hot lapping. But just keep that in mind. You want to use this curb on entry here. You can brake a little harder since you're into compression. You want to cut a lot of the inside curb on each part of the chicane. You just want to make sure you're keeping at least two tires on the tarmac. Just a little lift, just modulating the throttle a little bit here. Make sure I don't run out too far. And once again, trying to stay off the grass as you can get an off track if you're too far to the left. This is easily flat. During a race, you generally want to keep it a little tighter. However, if you're starting a qualifying hot lap, you can kind of start out more to the left. You can carry more speed to the line, but generally this is the line you want to take during a race. And that's a track guide for Road Atlanta. Hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll see you next week.